Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? Thank you so much for joining us here at the PowerCast Team Powerhouse live podcast. Today I have a very exciting special guest to share with you. It's the Miranda Team home inspectors, and they are one of the most amazing people, and as well as other inspection companies who are out there that do a great service to you as buyers and sellers getting ready to do a home inspection and all the elements of what it means, what's about. So Melanie, thank you so much for joining us today. Marco, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And it's awesome to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to go over a bunch of things over here today about the home inspections. Let's talk about your company a little bit. How many home inspectors do you guys have?
Currently, we have 8 home inspectors, and we have a field tech.
Very cool. What does that mean to have a field tech?
It's somebody who goes out in the field. He helps preset some of our machines and takes different samples to make everything more fluid for the
Speed
inspection.
up the process.
Yep.
Perfect. So as a buyer, when you're going to do a home inspection, you're going to have a choice of different home inspectors to choose from, all who are very good, right? Very educated, been in the business for at least a day or two. Just kidding. And not only they had experience, but they've worked under Marco, who's not only educated them, but they've gone through the process of what it means to be a home inspector. We can go and talk about that also, what involved about a home inspector is. But more importantly, let's talk about what is a misconception that you'd say buyers or even sellers have about home inspections.
Well, I would say that they think it's pass or fail. So it's not pass or fail. It's just giving you an idea of what you're buying. And then it's up to you after that to, once you know the condition of the home and what's going on with it, if you're moving forward or not, and all the things that are going on, good and bad with the home.
So let's talk about that for a second. All the things going on good and bad with a home inspection, right? Because no house is perfect. Nobody's going to buy a house, not even new construction.
I was going to say a new house, yeah.
A new construction house, you can have a home inspection on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we find flaws in it, right? Which is a real insult to builders. But here's the thing. Today's builder, depending on what you're buying and who's building it, they may skirt around certain things that you may not catch as a home buyer visually, which is why you hire a home inspector, right?
Yes, I feel like the home inspectors get a teaching degree, to teach you about the house.
Absolutely. Educating you as the buyer as much as possible about a home, right? Because you're buying a home for the first time. No matter what price range you're shopping in, it's the most expensive purchase of your life. 100, 200, up to whatever that number is, right? Mm-hmm. When you're buying a house, you want to feel comfortable in your heart and your mind and your soul that whatever you're buying for you and your family, or maybe you're a first-time buyer as a single individual, you want to make sure that you feel confident in what you're buying. It's one of those things that it's kind of like getting married, right? We're getting married to the person we're going to spend the rest of our life with, right? And we want to make sure we kind of educate ourselves as much as possible about that. Now that's totally off the top. And you want to test out the product.
It's that point that you get the cold feet. And then we're right there to bring you back to life. It's okay.
Absolutely. So tell me why we need a home inspection. Let's go more about what is involved in a home inspection. Why does a buyer need let's start with the buyers. Why does a buyer need a home inspection today?
They need a home inspection. They need to know what they're buying. It's such an important thing to do. I mean, it's a shot in the dark if you don't get a home inspection. I can do 20 houses and never find anything that's a major issue. And then all of a sudden you get that house that you find something that, oh man, I'm so glad that I had the home inspection done. And it's something that nobody should skip it. I mean, I need to make money,
Well, right. The money thing, listen.
No, it is something that I'm joking, but it's something that you want to know what you're buying.
So here's what I'll say. As an agent, ready? A lot of buyers have family members that are educated, let's say in building or fixing houses up, right? And with that being said, while they have these experiences in doing things, they're not home inspectors. They will come to a home inspection, which I can appreciate, and they want to make sure they're protecting you as the buyer about the home inspection, because they want to make sure they ask Marco and your team about these different elements to make them feel comfortable about, hey, is this a good home inspector, right? But more importantly, the home inspector is there to go through all the elements of the house from all the different angles and different things. Let's talk about a home inspection. Start with, where do we start off with a home inspection? Where does the home inspector start?
And you made a good point. Like sometimes those are our hardest inspections is when people show up at the inspection that know a lot about codes, know a lot about building houses. We deal with a lot of houses, like all, it could be
Ages.
built in ages, a lot of different ages. Could be built yesterday or could have been built in the 1700s. So we are trained to look for things to be safe, to be, we don't go by code. We go by safety. We go by improvements. We go by life expectancy. And this is such an important element. And it's like life expectancy. I always tell people, you're going to hear me say this a lot throughout the inspection. Life expectancy is a guidance to go by. And, sometimes things will last a lot longer than life expectancy. Sometimes things don't last as long as they're supposed to.
I'm happy you brought up life expectancy because I can tell you, from example, I'm going to just jump for example on central air, right? An average central air condenser, let's say, is about 15 years. Is that about right? Based on hearing this over and over, right? And at the same time, if you service them and maintain them, they could last 30 years. I had a condenser that lasted 29 years and then it finally crapped out. One of the things I hear that your inspectors will say, listen, you take that unit, whether it's a heating system or air conditioning system, you maintain it, service it, and it may last you much, much longer. Here's a guide for what we expect a normal situation to be. And then from there, it goes much longer should it be able to do that. I'm going to take a timeout for 1 second while Danny walks in the room, and I'm going to make sure that you guys are all paying attention to who we are, Team Powerhouse, the PowerCast. If you have not subscribed yet, please go to our YouTube page. Go to Team Powerhouse Real Estate. Please subscribe. By you subscribing, it not only will alert you about our future podcasts, it helps us out as a team as well when we're doing these podcasts, because we're looking to make sure we can educate you as a buyer, a seller, a future real estate investor with as much information as possible. Please follow us on TikTok. TikTok is our Team Powerhouse Sells. Please follow us on Instagram, which you're watching live right now, right there. And we're making sure that you, as the buyer, the seller, the future investor of America, right, has as much information as possible. And if you share our information with other people, I can promise you that they're going to thank you for it. Going back to the AC units, timelines, and that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, Marco, you're not talking over here. We have the life expectancy, right, of something, and then how long it may last because of maintenance.
So everything has a life expectancy. A human being has a life expectancy.
That's true.
It's about 75 years. But if you have a good life, you never drank, you never did drugs, you have a better chance of living longer.
Or less drugs.
Or lots of drink of wine a day, right?
Eat an apple a day, keep the doctor away, kind of
Yes.
thing. But with systems, it's kind of like the same thing. You have systems that if you take care of them, life expectancy is just going to be a guidance to go by, but they're going to last a lot longer. If you don't take care of the systems, they're not going to reach life expectancy. They may reach it, but by the time they get there and we do a home inspection, we're going to notice that you haven't been taking care of them. So you haven't been servicing them. And,
right. We're not going to have. So let's talk about that servicing. Service records are everything. By the way, everybody who's watching, if you have any questions, please, Instagram, send us some messages. We have Danny behind the Instagram. We have Jonathan behind the Facebook, Twitch, and like 30 different outlets of social media. Have questions, please reach out to us. Send us a message. Let us know that you have questions about things that we're talking about, anything about home inspections at all, real estate, etc. So life expectancy, servicing property, servicing the elements of mechanicals, and that in a house, servicing, there's many things to service in a house, right?
Yes. And that's another portion of our home inspection is we kind of teach you how to take care of those systems. We teach you, we guide you like on who to call to take care of the systems, how often you should do it. We explain to you like how the systems work, how the systems are supposed to operate and everything. And we always encourage people to be at the home inspections.
Right. You want to be at the home inspection. You want to be proactive as a owner of a property. You want to make sure, again, it's all about maintenance, wear and tear, and how you treat things. All right, let's jump over to a couple of the questions I have over here. So you have a buyer, he does a home inspection or she does a home inspection, family's doing a home inspection. What's the report timeline to receive a report?
The report we do as we go along throughout our inspection. We try to be very prompt with it and send you that report as soon as we are done with the inspection.
So within a couple of hours, we should
Within
have
a couple
report.
hours, you'll have the report.
And that is important to us as realtors, as you all know, because when it comes to a offer and a contract, there are timelines. So if your inspector is not very proactive about getting your report to your agent, that creates a lot of stress for you as the buyer, as well as the agent, as well as the process, because the last thing you want to do is involve extensions upon extensions upon extensions. Now, during a home inspection, there are different elements of it that take longer to get reports on, right? So for example, we do a typical inspection. You'll recommend, let's say, a radon test on a house, right? So let's talk about that. How long does it take for a radon test to process?
So we have additional services. We have radon, termite. If you have a well water, we have the water samples that has to go to a lab and get the results from the lab. Takes time. We have mold. If we take a mold sample, it has to go all the way down to Florida to a lab to get the results. Real estate is moving in the left lane or right lane if you're from New Jersey, but in Connecticut, it's moving on the left lane, like really fast pace. So if you tell us, I'm really in a hurry, I need to get the inspection done immediately, I need all the results right away, we do everything ahead of time. We will go to the house 2-3 days later, earlier, and you'll have all the results when we do the inspection.
So what you're saying is you'll call the listing agent up.
Yes.
You with the inspection company, call the listing agent up. You
Set it all
preset,
up.
which is tremendous because again, it puts less stress on you, the buyer. It puts less stress on the agent and less stress on the listing agent if you're on the buyer side, okay? So getting those presets involved, pulling mold test, getting a radon test set up, pulling water test, because water and air take about 5 days on average.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
35 days.
with 5 days involved in this process, and typical inspection could be 7 to 10 days on a contract, you're jumping in front of the game, you're ahead of the curve, and you're putting less stress on everybody involved.
Yes, and we take a lot of that stress to ourselves. Sometimes it's not very pleasant for us, but we love it. You know, this is why we started this business and love real estate, and we go with the flow. If it's right now it's a fast pace, like I said, everybody wants it done yesterday. So you want to make sure that they're getting what they need. That's our main focus. Every inspector should have that focus right now because you don't have time to wait for a report.
Absolutely. Again, there's a lot of inspection companies throughout Connecticut. So depending where you're buying, right? How do you find a home inspector? Who's recommending you to what home inspection company? Typically, your agent is the first point of contact to get you a home inspection company. Do yourself a favor. Review those companies. Read about them. Go online. Google them. Because other people have written about these home inspection companies, and that is everything to make you feel confident. Because an agent recommends somebody to you. You go, well, why are they recommending that person to me? Are they having some kind of influence on that person? You know, you're good. If you have a good agent that you reviewed and inspected out to who they are, you're going to know that they're going to have the best recommendations for you in going through this process, right? And then you can also review, if I want to look up the Miranda Team home inspections, I'm going to find hundreds of reviews about their experience in working with you. So definitely as a buyer, do that. In addition to that, make sure that as a seller, okay, I'm going to just touch on this for 1 second. You're going to get your house ready for sale. A pre-home inspection is invaluable to you. And I say to you, if you've owned a home 10 years and longer, a pre-home inspection is going to help you find out the things that you didn't know about from a home, okay, that are wrong, and you can get ahead of the curve and get them fixed because buyers, especially first-time buyers, are very nervous when they find things in a home inspection. They shouldn't be, but they do because little items come up, right?
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming.
And it's overwhelming for the buyers, but you as a seller, nobody wants a surprise. And you can live in the house. You can live in the house for 30 years and thinking that your house is the most amazing house because all you can remember was your home inspector 30 years ago saying that was an amazing house. 30 years, a lot happens, and if 30
years. How about 5 years?
Right, yeah. I'm going crazy here. So if you have a home inspection pre-listing inspection that we call it, before you put it out in the market. You have us home inspectors, by law, we have to have a licensed qualified contractor take care of that. If you put your house for sale and we come in with a buyer and now the buyer is asking you to fix something, you will have to get a licensed qualified contractor to do things. If you know ahead of time, sometimes things are easy and if you fix them right and we have no reason to call it out, then good for you. You're going to save some money.
Save some money, save some stress, save some
Stress,
anxiety.
yeah.
Stress is even more important
Because
than the money.
the buyers never owned a home before, so every little thing means to them a lot. I've had buyers where, again, they've heard something from a home inspection, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so nervous about this being broken, or this is going to be a
I
thing."
never heard that.
Right? Exactly. And then as an agent, when we're talking to our buyers, say, "Listen, we go to a home inspection. We're looking for the major things in a house, right? Structural, mechanical. We're looking for safety. We're looking for environmental. Those are the 4 big ones as a buyer you're looking for." A lot of the items that come up in home inspections are a lot of it maintenance. Maintenance meaning that you want to make sure you service things, make sure that you know how to fix things and clean things, and as simple as gutters being extended away from a house, right?
That's in our reports. Every single report will have that.
Trim the
Just
stuff away
trim
from
the
the
bushes
structure.
away from the
Yeah.
house, maintain the water away from the house. These are things that every house has. I don't care if it's a brand new house or a really old house.
We're going to get more involved in that kind of stuff too. I want to just jump into, for example, on chimneys. So we have many different things about a home inspection that you want to have checked out. A house can have a chimney, right? But no fireplace. Now, if you've never owned a house before, you'd say, how's that possible, right? What is that chimney? It's got to have a fireplace in that house there, but it doesn't. So let's talk about chimneys. Now, I know that you guys have an expert in chimneys on your team.
We do. Big Sean is amazing.
Sean is, it's funny. I've never learned more about chimneys than from Sean. And it's something that as a buyer, you want to know about. It can be the simplest thing. It could be a monumental challenge. So there's different kind of chimneys.
So chimneys, I mean, not every house has them. Sometimes you don't have a chimney. If you have everything electric,
that's a very good
there's gonna be
point.
No chimneys.
Okay.
Usually, if we don't see a chimney, we don't see oil or gas, we know, okay, there's no chimneys in this house. We do, sometimes there's no fireplaces, like David was saying, like there's no fireplaces, but there is a chimney for your heating system. It could be for a furnace, could be for a boiler, could be for a hot water heater. And we, as home inspectors, we are doing an inspection, a visual inspection. We can only see what we can see. We don't have X-ray vision that we can see through things better than you can. But a chimney inspection just helps you because we can put the camera all the way down the chimney and evaluate the whole flue and see how it is, if it's operational, if it's safe. Safety is always so important.
The most important thing about this is about safety, right? Education,
Yes.
Safety, and then how to maintain it, right? So and a chimney, again, just from the outside looking in, you being the expert, your team who are very knowledgeable in these kind of things, Sean being an ace.
Yes.
Sean's gonna love this, by the way.
Yeah.
Being an ace on chimneys. And when he talks about like whether it's and I'm gonna even use the wrong words, but the stone, what do they call it? Is it the mortar or what's
the clay liner?
The clay liner, right? So you have a clay liner, and if the clay liner is not in best shape, you might need to have.
Sometimes they start popping, and
it's common, right?
It's not the end of the world.
No, it's very normal actually over time.
Yeah, the hardest thing to deal with is the unknown. Like nobody likes the unknown. So if you put the camera in there and it's bad and you have to fix it, it's not that big of a deal. You can put a metal liner inside the clay liner. And that can work, and that's not even that big of a deal.
Right,
do.
It's an average about $1,500, maybe $1,800.
$1,800, I would say. All depends how high the house is and
right. Right, that's a good point.
Crazy it is to get up there, but usually that's what they run for. Just something that if you don't get a chimney inspection, we can't put the camera in there. Those cameras are expensive, so we have to sell it as an additional service.
Right.
And I had a lot of fines that we were so glad that the clients decided to get the service because you want them to be safe.
If they have a wood burning stove, if they have wood burning stove, they have a pellet stove, or they're just running with regular wood. I mean, when I say wood burning, I mean that obviously that machine that what do you call that? The
wood stove.
Wood stove, yes, versus putting wood in a fireplace. I'm sorry. You see, even the language over here,
Yes.
I'm struggling with. But the actual, then you have the chimney on the outside, right? And it's very common, I see, because of weather in Connecticut, right?
The wood stoves are the most dangerous one. Out of all chimneys that you would have in a house, the wood stoves are always the most dangerous.
Dangerous in not
Pellets,
having
yeah.
them, or dangerous in how you need to make sure you learn it to work them and to maintain them?
In making sure that they're safe, make sure they're maintained every year. You know, a lot of people don't understand, like I always tell people at home inspections, don't be cheap, man. You know, buy those started logs. They're so awesome. You start it up and you don't use paper. If you start using paper, it will start creating creosote.
That is
And
very
creosote
interesting.
is very flammable. You could have a chimney fire really quick.
So don't use paper to start a fire. Go buy that.
Start a log.
Start a log, right? Cut a
Do
piece of
flame.
it, put it in there, bang. Now we have less challenges. Now I never knew that before. Sean, what happened, Sean? You never taught us about this. But that's really actually very impressive information to learn about as a person who owns. So if you have a wood burning stove, you want to use this Duraflame, and if you use that, it's going to help maintain it to last longer and less problems with creosote buildup in the inside of a wood burning stove.
If I go to do a fireplace, if I go to do a chimney inspection and the fireplace, and there's a box of magazines on the side, I know for sure I'm going to run into some trouble, just because I know they've been burning paper and magazines and stuff, and there's just going to be so much creosote. Creosote is so flammable, it's so dangerous. A quick story. Right now, the code is to have a chimney flue liner, metal flue liner all the way out if you have a wood stove. Years ago, you could just go with a wood stove flue liner up to the damper, and it could stay right there. A friend of mine was one of the cheap guys there that was always using.
We won't mention his name. No names.
No names. He was one of those cheap guys that used paper all the time, and about once a year, you would get a chimney fire. His house was kind of like pretty easy to get on the roof, so he would get a bucket of water real quick and dump it down the chimney.
That
and the mess
is
that he made
bananas.
was unbelievable. It was so crazy. And I told him, just put a flue liner in there. It's so much easier.
All right, so we covered a lot of information on chimneys, more information than I ever thought I'd hear, and actually learned some new things, and I appreciate that.
I'm glad.
Not only that I learned, but you guys learned something about chimneys. And again, why is a home inspector important? You may have been brought up in a house with a chimney. Your parents are listening to this right now and never even heard this before. So this is very educational. Let's talk about septic inspections. Okay. So a house has a well, it has a septic, it has city water, it has city sewer. There's many options your house can have components of, because I've seen a house with city water and have septic. I've seen it with well and city sewer, right? Am I not confusing them?
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have one kind of concoction. Typical city water, city sewer, well and septic, very common to go together. One thing I know about you guys during inspections that makes our life as an agent very convenient is that you guys are really connected with septic inspection companies. Now, what does that mean? As a buyer, you have a home with a septic. It's a great thing. You want to be educated as much as possible. Do not fear it. But you need to make sure a septic inspection is done on the house, right? And you guys set that whole thing up.
Yes, we do. Melanie can probably tell you how difficult it is sometimes. But it's just another thing to make life easier for the buyer, the seller,
The realtors.
The realtors.
Yeah. Well, one
yeah.
thing I just want to say is that the septic, when people think of a septic, they just think of a tank, but it's actually a whole system. So you have the tank, and then you have the leaching fields. And somebody asked me yesterday, they said, oh, I just had a new tank. Should we still get it inspected? And my first thing was like, oh, no, you're all set. And then I thought, wait, no, you really need to get the system inspected. So when we do a septic inspection, they put like stress on the system. They're checking the whole system, not just the tank, making sure everything's working properly.
So the septic system has many parts to it. You have the tank itself that can last 40, 50, 60 years. It could last 5 years.
Right.
So you definitely want to have a home inspection done. Number two, you have the parts to a septic system that, again, your inspectors will educate the buyers on. We won't get into too much detail on it, but very important to do a septic inspection on a house.
Yes, and that, there's a big difference between the system fail or there's a bad septic tank. If there's a bad septic tank, we're talking about $5,000 maybe.
Not a hard fix, very common. As a matter of fact, I'll say to you that more homes, let's say if they're built in the 60s, which, by the way, in my personal opinion, the best homes that are built 40s to the 80s, those are the best homes built. So if you own a home between the 40s and the 80s, you have a house that's been pretty structurally solid. What do you think about that? Putting you on the spot.
You're talking about septic tanks, right?
Oh yeah, septic tanks. Yeah,
Right. So,
yes.
septic tanks. I mean, you can have a really old house and have a brand new septic tank sitting there. You can have an old house and have a cesspool in there. You know, it's very important for you to know what you have, what you deal with. Sometimes it's an easy fix, or I've seen it that I offer to walk away because it's very. I offer to walk away from an inspection until they figure out the septic system. And it was kind of impossible to install it in this property because they had no property. So they had to redesign it.
So hold on, this is a specific situation about a septic tank. You went to a house that had a cesspool. Was that?
It had a cesspool that was failing.
Uh-huh.
There was no drainage anymore. And for them to put a new system, it would have to be redesigned and it would cost a lot of money. And
Between 20 and 30,000 probably.
maybe more.
Maybe
because
more.
it had to be redesigned to go straight down. You know how the leaching fields go spread out through the property. These leaching fields would have to go straight down. They didn't have any property around the house to do the system. And we end up walking away from the inspection until further notice. If it was possible for them to still buy it, then we would go in and finish the inspection, you know, everything else that we were doing.
That's a pretty honorable thing to do that as a home inspection company, to say, listen, let you guys figure this part out first, because let's like step away back. Once you see that kind of red flag,
Yes.
they need to identify and figure that part out. So septic systems. We're also going to talk quickly about, let's see, a house that has oil versus gas. Okay. There are a lot of misconceptions, concerns. What's better, gas or oil? What's more efficient, gas or oil? You know, what can be a reason why one might be more efficient than another? Is it the actual gas or the oil? Is it the house itself? Is it how it's being produced, where they're getting it from?
None. Everybody should go electric now.
Yeah.
clean energy, right?
Right,
We all
right.
want to go in that direction.
No,
However, we're not there yet.
not even close. Not electric,
yes.
unless you have to. No, I'm kidding. All right, go ahead.
Electric has come a long way.
It has come a long way.
It is, you know, zero emissions. You can't go wrong with that.
But
we're talking about oil and versus gas. If you have the option of having gas, that's amazing. That's awesome. Gas is a lot cleaner, a lot more efficient. You know, you can go up to 97% efficiency, which you're only going to be about 87% efficiency on the oil.
but
So, go ahead.
I like oil a lot. I'm big on oil when it comes to homes and heating, right? Because number one, we could talk about the fact that you get a gas bill. The gas bill, well, how do you come up with that number, right?
Control it, right?
How do you control it? Number two, oil, ready?
Yes.
You get deliveries. You know how much you get. You see how much you're getting. You know how much you're using. You can gauge it every month, every week, every day. Number two, you have different kinds of heating with the baseboard versus forced hot air.
Yes. Well, you can get forced out here with both.
Exactly.
Oil or gas. The most amazing thing that they have now that you probably haven't heard this yet. So they have an awesome gauge. You can go on Amazon. A lot of places have it. You can put on an oil tank and everything goes directly to your phone.
What?
And you know exactly how many gallons of oil you use per day.
All right, Marco, you can't just say it, but you have to, what is it called this? Because I'm going to buy it right
It's just an
now.
oil tank gauge. It kind of looks like it's about 6 inches tall that sticks out of the tank.
You have to put it in or just,
Yeah, you screw it in. No, you might need a tool to take the plug that's on top of the tank. Every oil tank will have a plug. You take that plug off. You might need a tool for that. The gauge, you put it in by hand. Don't use a tool. And you just put the gauge in. You have to set it up and everything with your phone. Just amazing. It tells you exactly how much oil you use a day, how much
That-
oil you use a month, how much oil you use a year. It could order the oil if you set it up for that. It could order the oil by itself. You don't have to worry about it.
Wow.
I always tell people, do not let the oil tank go below a quarter
Never.
of a tank.
Never let it go below an oil tank. Okay, listen,
Yes.
guys, we've been running this for like about 30 minutes today, and which is typically how long we go with a podcast. I want to just again say to you, Melanie and Marco Miranda, the Miranda Team Home Inspections, I want to thank you so much for being here today. You just finished on something that can take us to a whole nother sit down. This gauge, if you have an oil tank, okay, myself included, there's a gauge you can buy on Amazon of all places, the simplest thing to do. And this gauge will actually tell you how much oil you're using by day, by week, by month to help you kind of get an idea of how efficient you're being with that. That's unbelievable.
And you know, a lot of people don't like Amazon or anything. There's other places. There's plumbing stores. Don't feel like you have
Okay.
to buy it from Amazon. We're just saying that it is.
So you can go to your local Heinz, you can go to
Yes.
your Home Depot, your
Yes.
Lowe's,
Yep.
your
They
places of interest that you like to go to your plumbing supplies. You can go to in East Haven. We have a good friend over there that owns Goodies.
A lot of hardware stores.
Goody Hardware, by the way, in East Haven, great place to go look at for all your needs and wants. That was a little plug for Goodies. Great people. I know their family very well. And you probably all know who Goodies is as well. So anyway, this gauge for the oil tank, fantastic. All right, remember one more thing again. Please go and subscribe to our channels. We have us on Instagram. Boom, right there. Thank you so much, Instagram followers. Please like. I have a personal page, but I also have a team page. It's Team PowerCast Real Estate. Please follow us. Get your friends and family. Let everyone know what we're doing here today. Please follow us on YouTube. YouTube is another great place to follow us. We want as many followers as possible. We want to help build relationships with you and make sure that you as buyers and sellers have every bit of education as possible throughout the year. If you have any kind of wants and needs for us to do any kind of podcast, that's we're always looking for more information and ideas from you. Team PowerCast Real Estate on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on Spotify. Jonathan, we're probably on so many different platforms, but again, TikTok, big one. Follow us on TikTok. We'll see all the newest properties coming to market, videos on the properties. Again, thank you guys so much again for having us the ability to be here today. And secondly, we have our wheel of excitement. We call it the spinner wheel for you to win a tumbler. All right. Who's going to be the lucky winner today, Jonathan, on our spinner wheel? Let's hit that spinner wheel and let's go live and see who the new winner is of today.
As we spin, just forget we have a little sneak preview of a property coming out tomorrow. Don't forget.
Oh, yes. Who's a new winner?
It is a TikTok user for the first time.
Very nice.
A card came to
Now,
our house.
This tumbler is brought to you by Heather Knotts. She has a great company she's developed into making these beautiful tumblers, and we appreciate her very much. We're very excited to have you guys on our show. We're very excited to have you here today. Learned a lot in a very short period of time. We definitely have to have you guys back, and thank you so much again for everything you've done with us today and this beautiful opportunity to the listeners here too. Have a great day, guys. Team PowerCast, the PowerCast. Have a great night.